What we're going to be doing today is we're going to do a rapid fire tips, approaches, and techniques with respect to how all of us can improve our video and live video. We've got Jennifer here who wrote the book on live video. I've got a few tips and suggestions. So hopefully between the two of us, we'll be able to add value to the members, Jennifer, in the Legal Minds Mastermind group. Also, during today's episode, Jennifer's going to be sharing some resources, some courses, links to different tools, lighting, camera equipment. I will too, that you guys may want to take a look at. But the idea is to maybe plant some seeds and share some ideas about how we can all use live video. And I think we need to just dive in, Jennifer. What do you think? We need to keep things, number one, fast-paced, right? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? Back when Periscope started, Mitch, and that's when you and I met, when Periscope started, it was so fascinating and so new that we would hang on and just wait for the little golden nuggets. Now, as digital consumers, we don't want to wait. We want the information. We want to be entertained. We want to be educated. We want to be informed. We want it right now. And so that's our first tip: is keep things fast-paced, engaging, interesting, entertaining, right? And it's easy to do when you practice and you have that as a goal. Sometimes we think that if we talk slower, or if we, engage with the audience, if you're on live streaming, or those things that might be helpful, but really it slows down the actual engagement and the entertainment value, right? Because we're broadcasters.
Absolutely. And so it's a matter of being fast-paced. It's a matter of using your hands, keeping things interesting, being entertaining. I mean, these are all things that we can all learn, we can all improve upon. And number two, and you're doing a very good job of this, Jennifer, I feel like you're looking at me right in the eyes. Okay, tell us a little bit about webcams, how unnatural it feels. But, what do we need to be looking at when we're doing video or live video?
Right. This is probably one of the most awkward and uncomfortable skills to master when you're doing video, and that is look directly into the lens of the camera, and at the same time, stay warm and open so that people feel like they're connecting to you. Let me show you a difference. So let me just demonstrate it. So, Mitch, I'm looking right at the camera lens, and the viewers feel like I'm looking at them and connecting. We're making a connection. But if I'm looking down at the screen, Mitch, I'm looking at you because we're doing an interview style. Or if I was on my phone and I was looking at the screen, looking at myself for immediate feedback, which is a totally natural thing to do, it's a disconnect with the audience. It's very similar to if you're in a networking group, let's say a networking meeting, and you are having a conversation with one person, but you're looking at another person. The person you're having the conversation with feels very disconnected from you. So
pay attention to the webcam. And by the way, you guys, and this is real talk right now, Jennifer's over here. Her video's over here. While she's speaking, I'm looking at the webcam. If I was looking at Jennifer while she's speaking, now I'm looking away, and I can see her much more clearly. But for me to make eye contact with her while she's speaking, I'm looking at the webcam also. I mean,
that's a great point.
And a lot of us, when someone's talking, we're watching them over on the screen, which is fine. But, think about just looking at that webcam and thinking of it as an eyeball. We're going to go through about 20 steps, you guys, and this is really valuable stuff. So pay attention. One more point on making eye contact. When you're shooting a video, you guys, with your iPhone, whether you're shooting it vertically or horizontally, I see people looking at the wrong end of their phone when shooting a video. In other words, figure out where your lens is on your phone, okay? And the way you do that is turn on the video mode, practice a little bit, put your finger, okay, over the phone, and you'll be able to see where your lens is. That's what you're making eye contact with when you're using your phone. I see people looking at the wrong end of their phone, and I'm guilty of this too, and so it doesn't look like you're making eye contact. So when using your phone or tablet, find out where the lens is, both forward-facing and rear-facing, and when you're doing a show, make eye contact with that lens. Also, Jennifer, it's important as to the positioning of the webcam or your phone with respect to eye level. Tell us a little bit about that.
So important, so important. You want it at eye level or above. And additionally, you want to make sure that your framing in the screen shows very little space above your head. There's a few reasons for this. One is, and we'll talk more about this later, one is the whole purpose of using video and live streaming is to have people connect with you and build the know, like, and trust factor, right? So one of the quickest ways you can build trust and rapport with your audience is let them see more of your body. So if you have, in fact, I can even demonstrate this here. My camera, I'm able to adjust it. Let's see here. You can see here now, if I'm, right, you can see the difference. So I'm still looking at the camera, I'm still using my hands, but you don't see what I'm doing with my hands. So there's stuff that's off screen that's going on that you're not able to connect with. And all I did was adjust the frame so that you see less space above my head. And that's really important. Another reason to do that is if you are on live video and people are commenting, then the comments are going to be scrolling right over your face if you're not at the top of the screen.
You know, I love that suggestion. I love the book I see in the background, JennyQ. That is your book about live streaming. I think everybody in the group has a copy. Another tip, and I'm guilty of violating this tip right now because I'm using a Windows-based Logitech webcam on my MacBook Pro, and I need to upgrade this. But if you look at my video, at least the video I'm looking at, okay, it's a widescreen video. I'm not able to adjust as Jennifer just did. I always like paying attention to what's in the background. I think that's the next tip. Pay attention to what's in the background, you guys. If it's your office, make sure it's nice and neat. If you're out, out and about enjoying nature, make sure what you're showing, your audience is interesting. But here's what I like to do, and I can't do it right now, but I like to take up 1/3 of the screen. In other words, I like to be a little bit off center so that I'm not right in the middle of the screen. At least this is my preference. It's kind of like photography. So maybe be a little bit off center. You have stuff going on over here. And if you see my video, you can see the roof to my office above the door. I can't do anything about it. But like Jennifer's image right now, it's a nice, evenly cropped live video that highlights who she is, the book that she's written, some of the other things that she's interested in. It's just a nice picture. And I see a lot of us really going live on video or recording videos with a less than favorable background. Okay, and I see it more so with non-professionals. They'll be in their bedroom with laundry on the bed, stuff like that. We don't do that in our group. But for those of you shooting out of your office, just keep in mind what's in your background. Are you off center? Are you in the center? Are you too close to the screen? Are you too far away from the screen? Just understand your positioning and use it and the message you want to convey. Use all of that to your advantage, right?
Totally, and that segues perfectly into our next tip. You want to grab the attention within the first 5 to 7 seconds. That's all you have. The background is the very first nonverbal way to do that. So a tip that I use when I coach my private clients is the way to build trust is you need to show up the way that your ideal client expects you to show up. And your background conveys that. The way that you sit conveys that. What you're wearing conveys that. All of this happens instantaneously. Dave Lakhani is a good friend of mine. He's written several books on human behavior and persuasion. And he, during one of the interviews that I had with him, I said, how do you build trust immediately with people? He said, show up the way you expect them. They expect you to. And so,
interesting.
Yeah. And so that's how you do it. So Mitch, your background as an attorney is going to look very different than my background as a consultant because our client has different expectations of us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. And you know me in this mastermind, you want to shake it up too. I don't want the attorney background to be a traditional attorney
Right.
background.
Right.
Good point. Okay. And let me just share with everyone, we're on tip number 5 of about 20. Okay. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. And let me just share about backgrounds and being professional. I appeared in court this morning. I told you this in Messenger. And we do court call. We call in on our phones, and it was a kind of an unimportant hearing, but I needed to make an appearance. One of the lawyers, and I know the judge, one of the lawyers was joking. I'm surprised to see Mr. Jackson appearing today in court because last night I caught him on his paddleboard out on Dana Point Harbor.
Nice.
And he was trying to do a little dig, okay? The judge said, well, counsel, maybe you need to reevaluate your lifestyle because it sounds to me like Mr. Jackson's doing something right. So you don't always have to have the office behind you. Have fun and you'll stand out. Now, did we talk about audio already? Because I don't want to jump over.
No, but that's coming up. That's coming up with my little acronym. So, but Mitch, I still want to highlight, you still, even though you were on your paddleboard, you still showed up, because I watched it, you still showed up in a very professional way. Like, you weren't out there doing crazy stunts and, hanging out with people that were people that, you know what I mean? Like, you still had that professional presentation, even though you were in a different setting. And I do love the idea of showing up in different settings, and there's a psychological reason why. So I teach 80% of the time show up, if you're doing a regular show, that is, show up the way that your ideal client expects you to show up. 20% of the time, shake it up a little bit because that's a pattern interrupt. And people now are like, whoa, what's Mitch doing? Why is Mitch on the water? Normally I see him and he's got all our certificates behind him. Let's see what he's doing. It stands out in people's mind. It gets more eyeballs on you.
So last night, though, from the water, once I was done with my Legal Minds stream, I hopped on Periscope and did a general broadcast. I had some audio issues. In other words, I didn't think it through, and it reminded me as to how important audio is, and we often forget about our audio when doing video and live video. Any tips for our members with respect to audio?
Yeah, that's a great point. Again, back in the beginning days, back in 2015, when everyone was hopping on Periscope, we were much more lenient with how people showed up on live streaming and on video. Now, not so much. So I have an acronym to help you remember this. It's called LAVS. So these. L is for lighting. Lighting is very, very important. People want to connect with you. They want to see your face. Good news. The best lighting is daylight.
So you mean something like this? Let's be real here.
Yes. Look at that.
Now, I'm just being real, you guys.
Yeah.
There's actually a light that we set up across from my desk. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to just really kind of walk our talk.
Absolutely. And then, but if you're on your mobile device, you know what? Get a little clip-on lighting ring. If you don't have good daylight, then go ahead and just get this. And I'm going to show you, I have a Mobile Go kit.
Ooh, nice.
And
what's in there?
So and it covers all the labs. So let me go over labs and then I'll show you this. So there's lighting and then audio, which is so important. If you're using your mobile device and you don't have background noise and you have a recent model of an iPhone or a Droid, then you're okay if you're 1 to 3 feet from your mobile device and there's no background noise. That microphone's going to be just fine. If you have background noise, or if you're going to be farther from your device, then you want to look at getting an external mic. And then let's go on to audio is probably more important than video on this. People will hop off, and you know how we said you have 5 to 7 seconds to grab attention?
Sure.
If your audio is off, people are going to hop off of your video. They'll be more tolerant of other things that are not, perfect. And then, so video, again, if you have a recent model of a mobile device, you're fine. It's all HD now. If you don't, you may want to consider upgrading for your video quality. Now, one thing that a lot of people forget to do before you shoot video from your mobile device, clean your lens. Clean it, just get a microfiber cloth, clean your lens. because otherwise you'll show up blurry. Or do that.
That's the Mitch method right there. That's a good point. I had water on my phone last night.
Yeah.
And if Chris Hargraves would have had his way, he wanted me to drop it in and see how waterproof it is. But that's a good point. We have a lens in the front and a lens in the back, right?
Yep. Yep. Yes,
Ooh,
definitely.
I like
And then
that.
S on LAV stands for stability. This, again, unless you're Gary Vee, people aren't going to sit there and watch if you have a shaky camera. And so there are some simple solutions, as simple as just a basic tripod. You can get that. Even if you're walking around, holding it with a tripod is going to provide more stability than just holding your phone. This is one of my favorite. This is in the mobile go bag. So I'll show you what's in here. This is, and by the way, I have links to all of these things on my website. It's JennyQLive.com. Click on resources, click on gear, and then it takes you directly to Amazon, and you can go in and pick and choose what you want. So this one is so cheesy, but get over it because it's so handy. Look how small it is, first of all, right? But the flexibility, the versatility is pretty impressive. So it's a selfie stick, and it's a tripod.
Ooh, I like that.
And it has a Bluetooth that sits right in it, right? A Bluetooth remote. So if you want to set it up anywhere and shoot a video, you can get the perfect framing, get set up, and then click go with your Bluetooth. Another thing that you can, and it's super cheap, it's like $20. Another thing that you can do.
And Jennifer, this is kind of overwhelming, so we'll include a link.
I know.
To
See, I
your
told you
web.
Yeah.
We'll include
do
a
that.
link in the comments of our mastermind video in our Facebook group.
Perfect.
To Jennifer's resources, so you guys don't have to write that down. Just click over and check out this stuff.
This is a good example of what we were talking about with street level on the other live mastermind. I'm going way too big, and I think I'm still at street level. So this is a good example of when you guys get into your area of expertise, keep it basic.
Keep it basic, but also as you advance and you will, don't be afraid to raise the bar and use the tools and approaches that JennyQ is telling us to use. Now that mount you held up, the Archon mount, do you still have that in front of you?
Yeah.
Can you hold that up one more time? So if you guys go to archon.com, Aaron Roth's a friend of ours, and if you use on checkout Legal Minds, you can get a 20% discount off of, I believe it's all of the Archon products.
Yep.
So check that out, you guys. And I've got about 5 different Archon mounts that work really well. The other thing, JennyQ, is I had a pretty well-known influencer reach out to me a couple of weeks ago about how shaky my video was. And stabilizers are a great way to keep your videos, whether it's recorded or live, Hollywood quality. And the DJI Osmo 2 is an exceptional item and product. It's $130, and it's a top quality stabilizer that's really, really easy to use. Is that what that is?
Yeah, this one is very similar. This is the Smooth Q, but it's a gimbal, and it does exactly the same thing.
They look very similar. I think I had that one also. So one of the reasons, just to keep in mind, and this is kind of an advanced tip, the reason I ended up returning the first stabilizer and getting a second is that the new DJI Osmo 2, $130, it has a tracking mode. So you can actually put it on a tripod, and you can then have it track you or someone else as you're walking or as you're running or as you're approaching the camera, which really makes for cool shots. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can get as crazy as you want when it comes to video. Now, here's something that I actually work on, and I need to get so much better at this, and that is pay attention to your facial expressions, you guys. When you're on video, whether it's recorded or live, smile. Smile. Learn how to smile. Guy Kawasaki actually has a blog post. Type in Guy Kawasaki, how to smile in Google, and you'll come to a presentation that he gave, I think at Stanford University. Guy Kawasaki talks about let it show, share your crow's feet, just go crazy because that's the way we connect as human beings. Many of us who are lawyers, we're very serious people. And we don't often have a lot to smile about every day because we're helping people with a lot of big problems. But I think for purposes of what we're learning and doing in this mastermind, we really need to pay attention to our facial expressions. Open your eyes. If you have little beady eyes like me, open your eyes. If you have a smile, try to smile. I mean, so important, right?
So important. And the way to get better at that is make sure you watch your videos on replay. Make sure you watch them. And here's the 2 questions to ask yourself. What went well and what could have gone better? There's always going to be something that went well, and give yourself credit for that. And then ask yourself what could have gone better. And then make notes. Like when I started, I had a notebook that was dedicated just to live streaming. And the other thing is watch other people's live videos or videos that they post and take notes of what you like. What do you want to incorporate?
I love that. And when you're not on camera, if you're in a group, okay, pay attention to your facial expressions when you're not asking or answering a question. When you're in the video and you're watching and the world can see you, pay attention to what you're doing. Keep smiling, right? And something you just did while you were explaining the art of the smile is you were using your hands. You're using your body expressions. I mean, make yourself be animated. I mean, I normally will sit like this when I'm talking. I'm doing this on purpose.
Right.
You know, use your, and don't go crazy. It's like giving an opening statement or a closing argument. You don't want to overdo anything, but you can go ahead and use props while you're explaining something. If you're talking about a smartphone, then show your smartphone. If you're talking about a great cup of coffee, this is what I'm talking about. It's just different than just telling somebody. If you show someone what's happening, you'll connect on a greater or deeper level. So pay attention to that.
That's so good. You want to bring people into your world as much as possible. And it's doing those things that will accomplish that.
So I think let's jump down to number 11, starting off with a snappy attention starter. That's the other thing, Jennifer. When you go live, or if you're doing a recorded video, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, you just have a couple of seconds to connect, to grab that person's attention. And we'll share in the links below, and I've shared this with the group before, 10 different ways to start your video or live video. You can create your own 10 ways to do this. But whatever you do, once you press the go live button, okay, don't stand around. Don't wait for people to join you. Don't think about what you're going to be saying. Once you go live, jump in and just make it happen, right?
Totally. Every time I do a workshop and I talk about this and I say, there's one thing, because there are two places where people on their live stream, they get tripped up. It's the intro and the outro. So that's where you really want to practice, because once you get into your content, you're golden, and this is why I love working with professionals. They know how to talk, right? We don't have to teach that. But it's the intro and the outro that people get tripped up on. And when I'm teaching a workshop and I say, so there's one thing that people do on their intro on live video that drives me nuts, and everybody knows what it is already. I'll bet you guys can guess, and that's what you already mentioned it, Mitch, and that is waiting for people to show up. And so the reason you don't want to do that is, again, you'll lose viewers, but also most of your views are going to come from replay anyway. So even though you're live, treat it as if you're creating a video. And another thing that people do that they can improve on, instead of introducing yourself first, do your catchy headline. Or your catchy hook. I loved your 10 tips, Mitch. That was great. But even if you don't remember anything that Mitch said, then just say, hey, I'm going to tell you the top 3 ways that you can improve your live streams. My name's Jennifer Quinn. I'm a live stream consultant. Let's get started. So boom, because they also really don't care about anything beyond why they're going to listen to me. They honestly don't even care what my name is. They probably don't care about anything beyond I'm a live stream consultant. They don't care about all of my designations. Not that I have them, but you guys certainly do. They don't care about where you went to school. They probably, unless it's really pertinent, they probably don't care which area of law you practice. They want to know that you're legit, that you're a lawyer, and that's why they should listen to you.
You know, Nick Rishwain is so engrossed in what we're talking about. I think he left the office and ran down to Staples to buy some paper to take notes, because everyone's giving him a hard time for not being here right now. Just so you know, I know what's happening in the background, you guys. Live video. I mean, that's another thing about live video, you guys, is you want to engage. It's a Don McClure says Nick is so dedicated. You want to engage in the real-time chat when you're live. And I see, and I'm skipping ahead, but when we're doing live video, you guys, whether you're on your phone, on Periscope, Facebook Live, and people are commenting, things are happening, it's okay to be flexible in your presentation and incorporate that into your video like I just did. I think it keeps it real, it keeps it interesting, and that's one of the things about live video. Jennifer, professionals oftentimes have a 5-minute script that they want to talk about in their video. And I watch them go live, and I watch members in our group do this, and they'll go live and people are commenting, and they simply stick to their script, and they don't acknowledge the people that have taken the time to tune in and watch and listen and share. And so really be flexible and incorporate what's happening in the live chat into your presentation. Have fun with it. And if it's something where it's serious and you just can't deviate from the conversation, let them know. It's like what I do on stage when I'm speaking. Listen, you guys, great questions. I'll come back and we'll do Q&A in the last 10 minutes of my presentation. But right now, let me focus and get this content out to you. You can do the same thing with the live video.
Absolutely. That is perfect. And what you're doing with your live videos, you're creating a container for your viewers to get information from you. And so when you can set the expectations, right? And so you start out, you give your hook, you say, let's jump into it. And then you can have like your 3 bullet points, let's say. And in between delivering each of the bullet points, take a break and acknowledge the viewers. And then say, I'm going to jump back into point number 2. But you guys keep leaving questions because I'm coming back. You know, keep leaving comments. I'm going to give you a shout out, right? And now all the needs are being met. You've set your container. People know what to expect, and they're going to keep commenting because they know you're going to get to them. If you are not going to interact, and this is a little advanced, so if you're not interacting right now, that's okay. But keep practicing. But if you're not going to interact, go ahead and just shoot a recorded video. There's not one thing wrong with that.
And so we're talking about during the process of a live video, some pro tips on maybe how to engage your audience. Jennifer, is during the live video, every 5 minutes or so, maybe remind viewers to share this out, or maybe reset. People come in late to our shows, so reset the topic. I'm having a conversation now with live video expert Jennifer Quinn. She's sharing tips. I want your questions. I want you to engage in the audience. Let's continue the interview. So there's nothing wrong with resetting so that people coming in late can figure out what's going on. So let me see. Oh, here's something that I think is pretty cool that if our Legal Mind members can pick up on this, you guys are going to be like as cool as the latest YouTubers and Instagrammers. And that's shooting your recorded videos in short 5, 10, or 15-second bursts from different angles, keeping it cool, keeping it jumpy. It keeps it interesting. Maybe talk to us a little bit about how our members can do that, Jennifer, and why that's so effective, at least in today's world of video.
Well, yeah, because we've been conditioned to look at it that way, right? We've been conditioned that we don't want any dead space. We just want line after line after line. In fact, advanced video editing, they will overlay audio to different video, but we don't have to do that because we can really achieve a similar result doing what you said, 5 to 10 second bursts. It's simple to do if you use like Snapchat, it only lets you do 10 seconds. You can extend it, but it kind of times it for you. And then you don't put it on Snapchat. You just use Snapchat as your camera and then download it to go into a different editing app to upload them all and piece them together. It does, Mitch. It really keeps things more interesting, and you avoid the talking head thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I actually love the technique. And so let's once again just get down and dirty and real and keep it simple for our members. So most of you are shooting a video, you're holding the camera on it's on a tripod or in your hand or in a stabilizer or a selfie stick, and you're shooting the whole video like this or like this. And that's fantastic. Next time you do it, after about 10 seconds, okay, when you're ready to start another sentence, when you're ready to jump into another topic, and keep it quick, okay? Just go ahead and stop recording. Take a step or two back away from the camera, change your angle a little bit, hit record, and just pick up where you left off. Do that 5 or 10 times. So you've got 5 or 10 short video clips instead of one long 4-minute video clip. Then import those video clips from your phone into some of the video editors that we'll include links to in the show notes to today's show. You import them, you trim the start and the finish of each clip so that it fits nicely together and kind of goes like this. The more you do it, the better you get, okay? But that's what I'm talking about. You can do it on your phone. It's super fast, it's super easy, it's not rocket science, and I think it will separate you from all the other professionals that are doing videos. I don't know any other professionals doing videos that way.
Right.
I mean, let's talk.
No, I agree, but I also think it's a little bit, it alleviates some stress to be able to do it that way, because all you have to know is 10 seconds. And then you can kind of take a breather and go, what's my next thing? It's kind of storyboarding, right? It's
Absolutely.
building a story in 10-second segments. And for me, even though I've been doing video for 3 years, it's much easier to think in 10-second, segments than it is to, I've got to hop on and tell this whole story, and I want to make sure that it's making sense and that people can follow it. And then the cool part is, when in replay, if you don't like it, just don't add it into your video.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It allows you to take a pause, have a sip of coffee, look at your notes, and go back into, and you use the term storytelling. And that's the next thing I think we really want to emphasize when it comes to doing videos and live videos, you guys, is nobody likes to be instructed or told what to do. We all enjoy being brought into an interesting and engaging story. So oftentimes, and me included, the message that we want to share can be shared in more than one way. And if we can share that message instead of instructing, but by telling a story, an engaging, interesting, fascinating, meaningful, emotional story, that's the way we connect with our audiences. And I'd rather watch somebody using the techniques that we're talking about, Jennifer, share their message in a 4-minute story, the way we've talked about, than just watching a talking head for 4 minutes.
Oh,
okay?
Without question. And we've covered this in the Legal Minds Mastermind previously. So here's my outsider, observation. When you guys tell stories, you're just all kind of like, yeah, so then this happened in court, and this happened when I was doing the deposition, and, whatever. Right. But for me, I'm going, what? Like, this happened? Like, that's amazing. Like, this is your life, and that's what you want your viewer to do. So as much as possible, while honoring confidentiality, tell those stories. Just tell those stories. Yeah.
There's a reason why CSI is such a popular show.
Exactly.
Right? It's because, we all live this, so it's second nature to us. Right. But the key is to just share these stories, whatever your message is, you guys, and keep it entertaining. And there's a right and wrong way to share stories, okay? And we're going to go over 2 good approaches. And once again, I'll share links in the comments with a more detailed summary. But the first thing is you want to really focus on fear of missing out, FOMO. If you can create during your videos the opportunity of fear of missing out, people will give you their attention. Okay, they don't want to miss out on that tip or that advice, especially if you're a professional where you charge a lot of money to help people. If they can get the answer for free, all right, you tease them a little bit, then they're going to listen to your video, they're going to share your live stream. I have 5 steps to presentation. It's 5 steps to a negotiation. It's 5 steps that I use in trial. It works really well on videos and live videos, and I'll share the link, but just real quick, and I've gone over this with some of the older members in our mastermind. The newer members might want to write these down, but when you're creating a video or live video, the first thing you want to do is, after you grab their attention with a statistic or a joke or something relevant that just happened earlier that day in the news, and you roll over and set the topic, what you then want to do is state the problem. This is the problem that I'm going to help you solve. This is a problem that we all experience. There's a right or wrong way on stating the problem. Once again, you want to use storytelling. But the steps are to state the problem, number 1. Number 2, agitate the problem. Show why, using facts and examples and stories, it's a big problem. Number 3, state the solution. A lot of professionals will state the problem and go straight to number 3 and state, and give the fix or the solution. You don't want to jump right to number 3. Number 4, show how that solution works with your audience, with your potential clients. And number 5, a call to action. So there's 5 steps you want to take when going through this process, and it's a powerful way to keep people's attention. It's a powerful way to empower them and give them context as to why your message is so damn important, because this is not only their problem, it's a problem that a lot of us have. Okay, and using these 5 steps, it's an easy way, once you get these 5 steps down, to create a video or a live video wherever you are and whatever you're doing. You just kind of walk through these 5 steps like we talked about, and it's a simple outline that works really well.
Well, it does work really well. And listening to you describe them, I couldn't help but take a trip down memory lane and remember the first few times I saw you on Periscope using that formula, and you weren't talking. I just want to kind of paint a picture of where this can go. You weren't talking about necessarily law. You were talking about business tips from having, a successful business for 30 years. And I'm like, I need to listen to this guy. And I got some great tips from you. But in the process, I learned to trust you. We met in person. I've referred business to you. We've collaborated on projects. This isn't just a little hobby, right?
Right. This is a full-time experience. I'll leave it at that.
It's a full-time experience, but it increases your business. That's the most important thing. Taking the time to learn how to do this effectively, not perfectly, but effectively, will build your business. Because I'm not the only one. You've had a lot of business come your way.
So this works really well, but here's the thing, falling back to the lawyers in the group, when we walk into court, when we pick a jury, the first thing we do is not ask that jury to award our clients $1 million. Okay? We set up the situation. We put the case into context. We talk about the issues and the life-changing events and the law and the evidence and everything that needs to happen as a society to hold wrongdoers accountable. And only after we paint the picture and only after we put everything into the right context do we come back with our call to action, which is in the closing argument, for example, with respect to the numbers we're looking for. The same thing applies when it comes to video and live video. Take your time. It's a process. Those 5 steps is one way, an effective way to get through the process. Now, another way to get through the process, and I'll share the link because Chad Barr was a guest on one of our private Legal Mind Mastermind live videos, but Chad Barr, who's just a gifted marketer, relationship builder, speaker, and storyteller, shared his process and his way to communicate effectively on video, like what Jennifer and I are talking about right now. And he's got 3 steps. And I'm going to run through his 3 steps quickly, but I'm also going to share a link, you guys, where he asked some of our members, what do you do for a living? What are some of the top questions you're asked each month by clients? And then he showed those lawyers how to answer those questions. They didn't just answer the question. He set it up so that he got them involved in the problem. He agitated the problem. And then using the process that Chad mentioned, he offered a solution with a call to action. We can use the same process in almost every video and live video that we're doing. But what Chad talks about is the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to your audience about what's the one key challenge or problem that you have or you're facing or you're dealing with today. So if it's an immigration issue and you're talking to potential immigration clients, what's the biggest challenge you have immigrating from XYZ country with respect to coming to the United States legally? And then what you do is you figure out what are the top 3 or 4 or 5 things that person can do right now to deal with this challenge, this problem, or to fix the problem. Okay, that's the second step. And then number 3, you come down to applying what you do as a living as a lawyer, as an immigration lawyer, to help fix or deal with those challenges or problems. And you do all of this in a story type of fashion. So I'll include the link to Chad's interview with the group, and you can see how he used words, because words matter, and his body language in walking people through this process. Jennifer, this process works for lawyers, it works for live video specialists, it works for authors, it works for someone selling shoes at the local shoe shop down on the corner in the mall. It's a really effective process that you have to watch and see to experience. But if you embrace what Chad does into your daily videos, you guys, and it's going to take you 20 minutes to watch Chad do his thing. That's it. And the light bulb will go on. It's going to change everything. So, also take a look at what Chad's doing. And Jennifer, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but I want everyone to please click the link that we'll include at the end of today's video and spend some time studying Chad's methods, because they're very, very effective.
Yeah, no, that's great. I have not seen it. I will, though. That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we've got our videos done, whether it's live or recorded, and we post them once and we forget about them. And we wonder why nothing's happening. We wonder why the phone's not ringing. Let's assume you do everything right, which most of us aren't. But we get to the point where we're doing everything right, we post it, and then we go on to the next video. People need to remember to repurpose your content. Repurpose your content often. Talk to us a little bit about that approach to marketing, relationship building, and branding.
Right. So the chances of everyone who needs to hear your information or wants to hear your information seeing that one video are very small. So it's really a moral obligation to know how to repurpose so that it gets in front of the people who have the problems that you can solve with your services. And so a very simple way to do that is download your video, send it off for transcription, have your team member or your staff or a virtual assistant create a blog post for it, upload it to YouTube, embed that video into your blog post with your blog post, and boom, right? And you said something a minute ago, Mitch, that I don't want to just brush by, and that is you talked about how when you are in court, then you have at the very end your call to action. Make sure that you're incorporating that in your videos as well. It can be as simple as, if you liked this information, please share it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we want to get you to the point where you say, if you liked this information, or if I can help you, or whatever, and then invite them to engage with you by either joining your email list or downloading a free opt-in or something like that. But just get in the habit of a call to action, because now that call to action is going to live forever on your repurposed video as well.
And I love the fact that you addressed the CTA, the call to action, in a way that's different than what most marketers are talking about. Call my 800 number if you've been in an accident. That stuff doesn't work on social media, and there's a more passive way of doing that. If you feel like I've added value, I've got more content over on the XYZ blog.
Yep.
Okay. Or reach out and call me and we can have a cup of coffee and talk.
Sure.
It's always a good idea. And let me just share from a trial lawyer's perspective, if I'm making that $1 million demand in my closing argument at the end of the case, that doesn't mean I haven't talked numbers during jury selection. I want to make sure, and I talk to my jurors about, are they comfortable with making a big award? If I do my job, if I present the facts and the evidence and they listen to the jury instructions and, the law says that this is what society wants them to do, are they brave enough to stand up to other people back in the jury deliberation room who are saying $1 million isn't going to change Jennifer Quinn's life? That's not the issue. The issue is, what does the law require? I talk about this before, and then I go in with the right hook at the end. Same thing applies to video and live video. If you're selling products or services, if you are trying to rolling out a new work comp department in your law firm, talk about the cost of work comp and talk about how much time and effort it takes both for a lawyer and a client to go through a workman compensation claim. At the end, now that your viewer has a better context of what's going on, you can come back if you're charging a certain amount or if there are particular hoops that somebody needs to jump through. That's your CDA and your closing at the end. But it's okay to talk about this stuff at the beginning. You just want to condition people slowly using the approaches that we've talked about during today's video. And by the way, we have a link, Jennifer, we'll be sharing that shows 12 different ways to repurpose your videos.
Nice.
Videos.
Nice.
Okay.
Perfect.
And
yeah.
The other thing that I think is very effective, and I've watched you do this, is you'll do a 45-minute interview, and then you'll take little clips, little 59-second clips.
Yep.
Back in the day when we could only do that on Twitter, and you'll share it on Twitter and Instagram with teasers back to your main video.
Yes.
So those of you that have the time to do this, it's okay to take your video, upload it into your video editing software program, and take little interesting clips, and sprinkle those around social media and use Buffer to send these out over time. And I think you'll find the views and the engagement on your videos will be much higher than if you just post once and forget. So we don't want anyone to post once and forget. And by the way, for those of you that are shy and aren't comfortable with promoting yourself, you're not comfortable with tooting your own horn, you've got to change right now. I didn't want to hear that, okay? Because on social media, you guys, you've got to get out there. You've got to toot your own horn. Guy Kawasaki, who's probably the biggest influencer on the planet, okay, he posts to Twitter 18 to 24 times a day. His team does. And oftentimes it's the same content worded differently, okay? So he keeps it interesting and engaging, but he understands we're dealing with global time zones, not just national time zones. So you need to change your mindset and understand, share good content. As long as it's valuable, as long as it's useful, people will respect you. They'll appreciate the fact you're taking the time to share this content. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, I'm looking down at our notes, and I want to we're going to be opening this up for questions, you guys, in a couple of minutes. We can go past the top of the hour, but mix up your location where you're shooting videos from. Talk to us a little bit, Jennifer, and we touched upon this earlier, but shooting videos from different locations keeps things interesting, right?
It totally keeps things interesting, and it captures attention. Like, they want to see what you're doing. And there have been times where I've broken all of my rules intentionally just to get attention. So there was a time I was sharing something that was very, emotionally raw, and I purposely sat in a kind of a dark section of my house. My face was still lit, but it was dark. And, I wanted to get people's attention on the information I was sharing, and that was so different from everything that I'd done that they were like, why? And I was holding my phone with my hand, I didn't have it stabilized. So it's just like anything else. Get to know the rules so you know when to break them. And, get people watching you by variety. We all love variety.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life, and that's how you get noticed above all the noise. Be different. Don't be like everyone else in town. You guys have heard me say that before. Jennifer, which platforms do you think our members should be looking at with respect to traditional recorded video and live video? Where do they need to be focusing their attention right now?
Well, the thing that I love about this challenge, and I wanted to give Jillian a big shout out, is that she designed it so that people were posting several different places. 31 days in the same place when you don't have a really clear strategy could not be favorable for your brand. So I love that we're doing it all different places. As you grow and as you become more comfortable and you want to put together a strategy, then then it becomes a different game. And that is, first of all, where is your ideal client hanging out? That's the first question. The second question would be where, and this truly is second priority, because we want to get in front of your ideal client. We don't want just a lot of likes and views on your video. But then we would go to, where do you have an existing audience that is also engaged? So if you have 5,000 Twitter followers, but when you post, people don't engage on it, it'd be much more valuable to go to Instagram or Facebook, where you might have 100 or 200, because the people are engaged, right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah. So it's being very clear that the goal is to get in front of your client, ideal client, and not just for vanity metrics of having comments and likes and views.